Okay, hello everybody. We are working on our second session for Curry County 4-H record books. So hopefully, I know some of you are probably watching this as a recording because you weren't able to join us tonight. That's perfectly okay. Just let us know if you have questions as we've gone through things, if there's anything you see. So what we're going to do tonight, last week we went through what you needed for forms, covers, and basic information about the Curry County report form to get us started thinking about that and what kind of things we needed to gather to work on our books. Tonight, we're going to go through that report form section by section. I have examples because that's a good way for you to go, oh yeah, I did that, or I did something similar that you know you can add to help us all remember to get everything we can in our books to show what we've done. I'm also going to click through to show you how you can type into it to put in information. So if you need to format or change things around, you'll have a good idea how to do that. So like I said, if you have questions, if you're watching, if you're on with us tonight and you have questions, you can put them in the chat or unmute yourself and ask. Or if you're watching on the recording, you can always send us a quick message and we can help address whatever your question might be. So I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen. So now what you should see is that Curry County report form. This is what it looks like as the Word document when you download it from our website or if you print it out. It is perfectly okay to have a printed copy and to handwrite your information. She should be getting in. Okay, I think the porters joined us. So we're just getting started. I just pulled up the form. So like I said, I know we talked a little bit about this last time, but we're really going to go through it step by step tonight. And so if you have your form with you, if you want to handwrite, if you just have a sheet of notebook paper where you can start making a list and then you can transfer it, typing into your form on the computer. However you prefer to do that, you can go ahead and get started and you'll have a head start on your records because we just have a few weeks before it's time to turn it in. So like I said, this is the Word document that you can download. You're going to want to download it and save it on your computer, and you're going to want to save it with a name that you'll remember for the year. If there's multiple family members working on the same computer, so for instance, when we save them in our house, it would be saved as report form John 2020, report form Denny 2020, so that we know who's everybody belongs to. Once you start putting in information, it's a really good idea to back this form up somewhere, to save it to a jump drive, to save it if you have an iCloud or a Google Drive or something like that. Say, let me let Candy in. To have it saved in more than one place. And the reason I say that, because I've had a lot of kiddos working on their record books and get almost finished, and something happen, either to their computer or just to the document itself, get corrupted in some way, and then you lose all of that work. So if you have it saved in a couple of different places, if anything happens, you can go back because you never want to lose all of your work. Okay. I do also recommend if you handwrite all of your stuff, when you get it finished, go ahead and scan it in and save it somewhere so that if something were to ever happen to your book, you would still have those records to use in the future. So there's a couple of things and a couple of ways you can do things on this form. So to begin with, we've actually put the photo page in here for you. If you want to use this one, you can. If you want to use one from those design sets that we talked about that are the fillable PDFs with the fancy divider pages and things like that, you can do that. Or you can create your own separate page. For tonight, we're just going to use this one. So obviously on this first page, it's going to ask you for a picture of you. This needs to be a picture of just you. You can either insert it here on the computer, or when you print it out, you can glue an actual photo on there. It can be a school photo, just a photo you took outside anywhere, whatever kind of picture you want. So if you want to put it in here, it's a regular Word document. So up here at the top, you go to Insert, and there's a place for pictures. So you're going to tell it I want to insert a picture, and I have saved on my desktop. This is Chris Clover. He's one of our 4-H mascots, and I'm going to use him tonight for our picture. Now, a lot of times when you put a picture into Word, it messes up all your formatting. So you're going to go here to your layout options and just tell it you want it to be square in line with your text, and that should put everything back. If it doesn't and you need help, let me know. So you can then just make him whatever size you want and put it in there. So you're going to put your picture here. Then when you come down here, you can type in your name. So if this is Chris's book, Chris Clover. Or again, handwrite if you want to handwrite it. Now these are built as tables that are double spaced to allow room for handwriting. So when you go in, if it's at the top and you don't want it there, you want it on the line, return down, and that's going to put it on the line. So for age, we're going to make Chris Clover 10, and we're going to say he's a novice. It is helpful to the judges and everyone else if you go ahead and put in here novice. Okay, so my age is 10 years old, novice, junior or senior, whatever age group fits there. And then same thing for your club. Let's put him in Dirt Devils. And you can put 4-H Club if you like it better that way. So then that page is done. Name, age, club, and a picture of you. These do have page numbers on them. When you make changes and adjust things, these numbers will update for you. So if you don't want to use this page and you delete it, it's going to change these numbers at the bottom and make the next page page number 1. All right, so it's up to you how you want to do that. The next is your table of contents. You can see this one has everything listed off. Again, you can use this one, make your own, or use one of the design sets. It lists all the parts that are going to be in your book. So one of the things that I suggest, this is not a thing you have to do, but basically this table of contents makes a checklist for you. As you do each thing, you know, okay, I've completed all of that on my book, and you kind of know where you are. So then you can add down here which projects you're going to include in your book. So let's say we're going to do horse and arts and crafts, if I can type, as our projects. I'm going to go ahead and list those on my table of contents. And then when I have them done, I can check my list and I know I've got everything I want to. And if I want it to look like the rest of the page, I can come up here and put bullets. So then I have my table of contents. Every time I finish a page, I want to save it under that name that I have. So like for tonight, mine is named Sample, because you're going to see things from both my kids and different groups and things that I've put in here to give you some examples. And I don't want to get those mixed up. But you want to save as you go, because again, you don't want to close out or have your computer go out for some reason and not have your information. So then we get to the actual report form page. Now this is where it starts. You have to use these pages. Again, these are all built as tables. That's to try to make it easy for you to come in here and type information. So we know this is Chris's book, Chris Clover. And if you just hit the tab button, it will take you to each section. So the 4-H year that we are in, that you are doing your book for, is the 2019-2020 4-H year. It's just like a school year. It starts in the fall and runs across. So you're going to want to have that kind of a date. Okay, and so then you're going to go all the way through and add those exact things. He's 10 years old, and your grade. Now again, this is your book for last year. So this is not the grade you're in right now as of October. this is the grade that you finished. Okay, so let's say he just finished 4th grade. Then we want your date of birth. This is your actual, we're going to use John's because that matches the 4th grade. Okay, and then here you circle if you're novice, junior, or senior. Okay, you can try to do that in Word. You can highlight it if you want, or you can wait when you print it out and then circle it. Okay, just don't forget. If you forget, we'll fix that for you when we get it, okay? So how long have you been in 4-H? Talked a little bit about this last year. You can include your Clover Bud years or not, okay? So we're gonna say, for the sake of making this simple, this is his 2nd year in 4-H. And then 4-H Club, we made him Dirt Devils on the front page, so that's what we'll do again. Then it's going to ask you how many club meetings there were. And for the sake of this year, we know a lot of clubs didn't have meetings, but we did hold, Haley hosted several countywide meetings. So you're going to count those as well. And so I think there have been 3 of those, Haley, or 4?
Just 2. We had one in June and one in July because we skipped August.
Now we have one next week.
Yes,
right?
we have one next week, so we'll have 3 that can count
For this year.
This year, yes, ma'am.
And then most of you probably had 4 or 5 club meetings prior to that. So we're going to just guess for the purpose of Chris Clover and say 8. And of those 8, how many did you actually go to? So maybe we've done 5 of them. Okay. Then in this box, you're going to list off the projects. Just the project. This is a little different. I think in past years, you guys have listed every project you were enrolled in. We're not going to ask you to do that because it can get to be a lot, because some may take 10 or 12 projects, but in their record book, they only want to put 3. That's perfectly fine. Part of what we're thinking about in our book is how we're going to build. Eventually, you'll have the opportunity to submit your book at the state level and win some cool trips, prizes, and things that way. Those books require that you show records anywhere from 1 to 3 projects kind of consistently. So pick the ones that are your major projects that are really important to you, or maybe you did a really cool one that year that you just really are proud of and you want to include that project. Go ahead and do that, but you don't have to do a record sheet for every project you've been in. And we are going to say for your book to be complete, you need to have at least 1 project record complete and in there, because that's a section that's required to get your score for your overall book. So you're going to list the project that you want to put in here, and I've listed off just a few that we've been involved in this year. And so you can see like horse, this is our 2nd year in that project. But poultry, this was just our 1st year to do a chicken project. So you may have different numbers over here depending on how long you've been in those projects. And some of you may have been in that project area for 6 years. So I'm going to go ahead and tell you, if you take, there's 3 different horse projects you can take: New Mexico horse, horse science, and horse self-determined. If you take all 3 of those, you can combine those into 1 record sheet and just put it as horse. Okay, because you're going to keep your horse records and all of your expenses. You don't need to put those exact same things on 3 different record sheets. So just combine all of those things that go with horse. Same thing, what we do with pets. If you have the pets project, and then maybe you did a cat poster and you also did a hamster poster, you didn't do a whole lot of other things with those projects, that's okay. You can include them with your pet project because they all fit together. Now, you're not going to want to put your baking stuff on your sewing record because those things don't match. But as long as they go together, so in that too, like Denny took 3 different levels of photography this year because he likes doing all of those different things, and there were some new project books he wanted to learn from. So we will do 1 photography record sheet that will include all of those specific projects. Okay. So does that kind of make sense? Are you guys thinking about what projects you want to include? In a couple of weeks, we're actually you're gonna need to know and start picking exactly which ones you're gonna do forms for, because we're gonna go through the project record forms and fill them out for each project that you select. So start thinking about that. Okay, so the next section on your form is 4-H activities. These are things that are not necessarily your project activities or your regular club meetings, things that are a little bit special or a little bit different that you might not put somewhere else. A lot of your activities that relate to a specific project, you're going to list on that project record. We want to see those other things that you did. Now, I've got stuff because we were members in a different county before we came to Curry. So we're kind of bridging for this year between Doña Ana County, where we were members before, and Curry County, where we are now. And notice I say we a lot. Record books are a family thing. So as the member, it is your book. You are responsible for what's in it, making sure that it's correct, the things that you actually did. But you're going to work as a family with that parent or your adult leader, whoever it is that's helping you, to make sure it all gets complete. And especially if you have siblings that are doing projects with you, you do a lot of the same things that you're going to want to list and share. So you're going to talk about what needs to be there. So these are some examples of things that you might list here. So for instance, last year, we did a promotion for 4-H week. Our club put it on for our school. So what we did was made teacher gifts and led pledge in announcements. Okay, now here's something to know. These are double spaced, again, because we needed room to write in them. If you don't like this, if you want to leave it like that and that you're happy with it, that's perfectly fine. If you don't like this, you can select it and come up here where it says paragraph. It's just a regular Word document, so you edit it just like you would if you were doing anything else in Word. And here where it says spacing, just change it to single, and it'll put it all right back where it's supposed to be. And you can actually select the whole table and make it single spaced if that's easier for you. Okay, so then it wants to know the area, and it tells you up here. I don't know if you guys can see that. When it asks for area, it's kind of asking where you did that. What group were you a part of? So for this was something that our club did. And that's what we would put there. We went to our county 4-H banquet. What did we do? Attended the 4-H banquet. That was a county event. We participated in our club Christmas party. After we moved to Curry County, we attended countywide 4-H meetings. Okay, because it's above and beyond, it's different than a club meeting. The area for that would be county. Some of you on here I know participated in the contest showcase. So you're going to then put over here, you can put however you want to list it, the contest you did. So let's say you participated in the talent show. This year, that contest showcase was done at the state level. So that would be our area. In a regular year, you might list here county contest at the county level, district contest at the district level. Okay. Then I have on here Curry County 4-H Expo. I'm calling it that because then you can put, if you had livestock and want to list your livestock on there, if you did indoor exhibits, that you completed exhibits, all of those things, and that's at the county level. The state offered a lot of different special things this year. I know some of you might have done the baking workshops that Miss Talisha offered out of Union County, but everybody could get on and do those. You would list that here. And then that would be a state thing. So one of the things that we participated in, they did some 4-H technology and design project meetings. They did those like once a week for a few weeks. So we would list that here and then list over here what kind of which things we participated in and that was a state event. This is one that I went ahead and put on here, and I know they're not calling it this year, but Eastern New Mexico State Fair is the fair that finishes up our 4-H year, but it happens in the new 4-H year. So it doesn't matter to me if you put last year's fair or if you put this year's fair, as long as you're capturing those records for you to have for eventually. So just do it consistently how you prefer to list it. So you can either, like I said, you can either go ahead and list finishing out this year, or you can list from last year if you didn't do that in your book in the past. So that's kind of a tricky one just because of the timing. The next section, there's no questions about 4-H activities. I'm kind of watching, nothing's popping up on my screen. The next section is your demonstrations, speeches, illustrated talks. And I told you guys last time, and this is a little different than what you've probably always been told in the past, list them all here. And then list them under the appropriate project as well, because there's a section on your project sheets for demonstrations that you did related to that project. The reason for that is when the judges are going through and looking, there's a couple of different, there's some special awards, and you get scored for having things in this section. So you're going to want to make sure you have stuff there, and this just keeps the judges from having to flip back and forth in your book to find things. So go ahead and list them here. You can see we did, and again, I've mixed both kids together, all of these different things related to different projects. So you want to list the name of your talk. One of the talks that John did this year was all about beagles. He learned about the beagle breed. That's the kind of dog he has. And we did that presentation a few different places because he did some things for school. He made his poster for the fair. The main one was we had a service project at Pets Barn where we set up and took donations, and he talked to people about his beagle and gave that presentation to customers as they were coming in. So we want to put that there. Some years we get to set up tables at Tractor Supply and do demonstrations for customers there. So we would list that there. And then you would also list if you did it at a club meeting. Because let's say Texaco 4-H meeting. Okay. If you also did that presentation at school or for a class, you would list that there too. So for instance, the coffee cake presentation, he actually had to do over Zoom to our club, but then he also did it over Zoom to one of his school classes as part of a school project. We would list both of those things here. So all of the speeches, demonstrations, those things get listed here that you've done. It is okay if you have one or two. You don't need a, like I said, this is a mix of a couple of years and more than one person. So don't think you need this many. One or two is sufficient. That being said, if I don't remember now how many lines were actually in this section, but if you get in here and you put 2 or 3 in and you need space for another one, go to the bottom of your table and just hit tab and it will make you another row. If you put things in and you have a whole bunch left over, you don't have to delete all of them, but if you decided, you know, I don't really like that empty one being there, it messes up my pages, you can come up here to layout on your table, and it has a place you can also right click, but I'm showing you guys where we can see all this stuff, and just hit delete row and it's going to take that row away. What I recommend is that after you get everything in, you scroll back through and make sure that things break in the right spot so that you don't end up with all of your, I think I have one down here that's still like this, but that have like your headings on one page and all the information on the next. You can add spacing, you can take things out, you can adjust. Don't remove whole sections because you need to make sure that section's there to get credit for it. But you want to make sure that it kind of lines up and looks pretty when you go through it to read. And so you can do all of that because it's a Word document you can edit. Now, if you're handwriting, you can make changes to the blank one before you print it, or you can add a page or even add a piece of notebook paper and just write in here, see attached page. And we know when we turn that page and there's your notebook paper that tells us the rest of your information, okay? It's also okay if you just have the spaces that are there or just one or two. The next section talks about contests that you did. Maybe you didn't do a contest this year. So what does that look like? You can see we've listed here, these are the contests John did as part of the contest showcase. He did an ag presentation on his rabbit. So it asks, where did you do that? And we're gonna put New Mexico 4-H Contest Showcase in this box. But what if I didn't do a contest? Oops, not the one I wanted. There we go. What I'm gonna put on here, I can put none this year. I can just put none. Or, I think I told you guys last time, you can put NA, which stands for not applicable, which means that section doesn't apply to me. I didn't do a contest. I didn't work on any of that stuff. And that's okay. But it's very important that you put something here so that we know when we go to look through your book that you didn't just forget, you didn't just miss it, you didn't just get in a hurry and not get to that section. Okay, so don't leave anything. It's okay to say none, but don't leave it blank. Okay, so then here's another one. Again, I've got lots of examples in here. You might not have this many, that's perfectly fine. But awards and recognition, these are things, special things that you won, maybe you got a certificate for, that you took part in over the 4-H year. So last year, John got an award for his record book. It was for last year's book, but the award was given within this year. So we're going to put it on here because, again, the big thing is we want to document what you're doing in 4-H. So when you look back, you have a complete record of all of the things you have done. And it's okay if even after you've turned your book in and you get it back, you remembered something that you forgot to put in there, go back and write it in or add it in so that you have all those records in one place. So over here, what I received it for, we're gonna put outstanding novice record book, okay? The other thing, if you turned in a book last year and you received some awards for that, but you got your pins for the different projects you completed, you can list those here for project completion. And that's part of turning in your book with your forms in it, okay? So all of those things you're gonna list. Then you're also gonna include if you did exhibits for the indoor or if you exhibited livestock and you placed with those, or even if maybe you didn't place, you didn't get a ribbon in that class, but you know you were 8th place and they just didn't give a ribbon for that, that's okay. You can still list that here as part of your participation. So one of the things John had, he had 1st place senior Dutch rabbit. So we're gonna put that he received that for exhibiting Dutch rabbit at Curry Expo, okay? Enough information that you'll remember what it was for and a judge would understand what that means. We may not all say it exactly the same way, and that's okay. But enough that the judge is gonna know what you mean, and when you look back on it in a year, that's gonna make sense to you. Okay, so you can see I listed off a few other things down here. 1st place novice horse exhibit. Okay, so let's see, Denny had a 1st place, his wasn't novice, his was the junior, so let's fix that. We're gonna say junior horse exhibit, and it was a recorded horse colors demonstration video. We're gonna put video because it was a video, not live. So that again, we know what it was for and a judge can see. So if you had a poster that you exhibited and it was, let's say it was your dog poster, you know, first place dog exhibit, and you're gonna tell us the name of your poster. Because again, that's gonna help you in the future remember what that was about. Okay, kind of makes sense. Awards. Awards can also be, it says recognition. So maybe you got the most items for the food bank donations. Okay, you can list that on here. Maybe you won one of the contests we've been putting out in the newsletter for a drawing. You can put that on here. Anything that was some type of recognition can go in this section. Okay, so again, let me show you one more time. If you decide, you know, I really don't need these 3 rows right here, don't delete them until you know you're done with that section, because a lot of times you'll think of things later and go back and add them in. But I'm gonna say, okay, I don't need those. I'm gonna go up here to layout, delete rows, and I have them all selected, so it's gonna delete all of them. Okay. This next section, I think we're almost, yeah, almost to the end. The next section is leadership. If you're using the old form, which you still are welcome to do, if that's the one you've been doing in the past and you want to keep using that one, you can. These are split into 2 things because there's a leadership one and then there's one for offices held. On this form, we've combined those together because those offices obviously are leadership. So we're going to put them all in one spot. So for instance, if you were your club president this year, there's your office, what you do. What was your job as the club president? Well, to preside over the meetings, to help put the agenda together, maybe to help the younger kids with something. Some clubs, the president has additional jobs that they have to be chair of certain committees. You're going to list all of those things here for that. And then again, we're going to ask for that area. Where did you do this at? What was the purpose? So obviously that's going to be with your club. If you served as a county council officer, you're going to list that as county council vice president. What were your responsibilities? What was your job? And that was at the county level. Okay, now remember, leadership, especially when we haven't held an office or we're just getting started in 4-H, so like older kids are holding the offices, you probably had some leadership. Go back through, see what you did at your meetings. One of the things that's important is leading the pledges. That's leadership. You stand up in front of everyone and you lead that. So you're going to list that here. And then you would put whatever led the American Pledge at the October meeting. This one I actually have led the 4-H pledge at school during 4-H week, like you saw for the promotional part. That was something that we did. So think about all of those things where you've shared or taught or worked with someone else to do something. And you're going to want to include those as your leadership. If you really can't think of anything, you don't have anything that looks like leadership, again, you're going to put that in A and not leave it blank. Okay, so now here you can see where my stuff is run together. So my community service is jumped up here on the other page. I'm just going to return it down so that it moves to that next page. Again, the page numbers update themselves so that it's all together. Most of us have done tons of community service. There's not one kid in Curry County who should have a blank place for community service, or none, or any of that, because there's been lots of opportunities, including what your club has done. So when you look on here, these are some examples of different things that I know we took part in that you need, like I said, you need to think about what were your club service projects as well as the county ones. So I'm going to come down here to one of, and then there are things that you might have done on your own. We took some donations to Salvation Army, cleaned out rooms, gave away toys, things like that. That's a service. We usually do shoe boxes to donate for Operation Christmas Child. That's a service. So you would put in here, purchase toys to fill a box to send to a child who wouldn't otherwise get a Christmas gift. And then over here where it asks for the area, you can put those boxes go international. So if it makes you feel better, you can just put international. Or if you just want us to know that's something you did, we only need one M. That's something you did on your own, you can just put on there myself, something I did myself. Or with my family, you could say family. So here you can see some of the ones we have done just in the last few months here in Curry County that I know some of you guys did because I saw the stuff you brought into the office. So writing thank you notes to police officers. So what did you do? I wrote 3 thank you notes for law enforcement. Okay, and who did I do that with? The area was for the county. It was a county-wide project. Okay, most of this is not hard. What I find people really struggle with is keeping good records to start with, being able to find all of your information. And like we talked last time, check your calendar, look through the newsletter, look at your club agendas, go back through your photos, look at the photos and things on your phone to kind of get an idea what you participated in or what you did. And try to include as much as you can, but don't make it harder than it has to be. Where I see people really struggle is they want to make it really complicated, and it does not have to be complicated. Get the information in there, and like I said, do it in a way that you will remember what you meant and that a judge can understand what that project was. And most of the time, it doesn't take a whole paragraph to make that happen. We're going to talk next week about writing your stories, and that's where you're going to have your paragraphs and your opportunities to really get in depth and share some of that information. What you're doing within this form is providing us with a listing, a basic accounting of the things you did in 4-H. Does that kind of make sense? Okay, again, I'm not seeing questions come up. So I'm not going to fix this now because I know when I go back and I add stuff in these other sections, this is probably going to move. But this is something, and honestly, if it doesn't bother you, okay. It would really bother me if it were my book, when I go through it and it doesn't, the pages don't match up. So you can go in and you can either put in page breaks or you can just return to put that onto the next page. But because this is a working document and I know I'm not finished, I don't necessarily need to move it now because I'm going to be putting things back in all the sections up at the top. This section we have not had before. It's called your non-4-H participation. It's to give you an opportunity to kind of show and tell us what other things you're involved in, but also to have all of your records and information in one place. So you're going to list other groups and organizations that you're a part of. Okay, if you are, say, Grady FFA, and then you're going to list over here offices you held or other activities you've been a part of, maybe whatever your, what CDE you participated in, whatever that is, or whatever your SAE was. If that's the things that you want to share about that, that's what you're going to put there. And again, it's going to ask for your area. And here, your areas are a little different because you're going to tell me, was that through your church, through your school? Was it a community project? Those types of things. So one of the things, like I have on here, honor student. Maybe you made the honor roll at your school. So you would put in here, let's pick a different place. Melrose Elementary honor roll. And obviously then that would be from school. If you participate in a sport, so for instance, Denny did football and basketball, and student council through his middle school. You could list that as middle school student and list all of those things here together, or you can list them separately. It's up to you. What makes sense to you is okay. Maybe you were in a play at school or a special program. Like I said, Denny also did orchestra and they had orchestra performances. You can list all of those things here. Maybe you do the Awana group or youth group through your church or choir through your church. Those are the things you're going to list here under your activities. So as you're going through to remember what you did in 4-H and pull all this other stuff, you're going to see all of these things on your calendar, in your photos that you are part of too. And you can make that list. If 4-H is all you do all the time, we like that, that's okay. But you can go ahead again, put here none or NA, or you may have 1 or 2 things. Again, this is 3 or 4 lists from different kids just to give you some ideas, the types of things you would include. Other groups or associations that you're a member of. Okay, and then thanks for taking care of my kids, Haley. Since I don't look at their chat. The final thing on this form, but it's a very, very important thing. I talked about it last time and I'm going to reiterate it. You are signing this document telling us that it's true, that it's accurate for what you remember, and that, you know, basically this is your chance to, hey, I'm proud of what I've done. I've put it all together. It reflects what I've done accurately, and you're going to sign it. A form without signatures is incomplete. You will find this as you get older and you start applying for things, scholarships, to get into college, for a job. You have to have a signature when it says to sign it. So you're going to sign as the member. Then you're going to have a parent or guardian sign that, yeah, they did these things. We worked with them, we helped them. And then you're going to have your 4-H leader sign. Now, things are a little odd right now. We don't get to have a lot of 4-H meetings or get to do things face-to-face. So if you can't get with your 4-H leader, that's okay. Put a Post-it on there when you bring your book in so that we know, and we will get with that club leader to get those books signed or verify with them that we can sign on their behalf. Okay, but we will help you out with getting those signatures in place. So this is a big chunk of your record book because it is all of your experiences in 4-H. And then you're going to have the opportunity to show us some specific project information through your stories and your record sheets. But so this right here is a lot, and that's why we wanted to go ahead and run through the whole thing and talk about what these sections mean. Do you guys have questions? Okay, I want you to think about, I'm going to come around to each of you and I want you to tell me, I'm going to start back on this first page, what project, at least one, you think you're going to include in your record book. So let's do ladies first, Miss Robin Porter, but that's not Robin, that's Paige, right?
Robin's the daughter, Paige's.
Robin is the, okay, Robin.
I'm gonna do my dog for sure.
Great. Dog is an excellent project. It's one of our favorite.
And my cat.
Cat. I remember your cat poster from the fair. So, okay, perfect. Thank you, ma'am. All right, Colvin, I see your face. Just your face and then dark space all around you. But what project will you for sure include?
Probably my sheep.
Sheep, yeah. Yeah, livestock records are, if you have and are doing things with animals, livestock records are very important to keep track of all of that. And so since you're keeping track of most of that anyway, it's a good one to make sure you have in your book. Okay, Danny Turner.
Probably my horse and dog.
Horse and dog for sure, and maybe a couple more. We'll see. All right, John, what project will you for sure make sure is in your book? John, are you listening? Okay, we'll have to track him down and see what he's doing. Okay, but so for
He said
those-
rabbits.
oh, he said rabbits. Thank you. He's talking in the chat instead of talking. Thank you, Colvin. So, oh, look, you guys let me leave that with the wrong letter. So remember, it's important as you're working on this form, get up here and click save. And when you get to a stopping point, save it in a backup spot on a jump drive or into a cloud somewhere so that you can get back to it if there's ever a problem with your machine or your computer. That's all I have. If you would like to hang out for a few minutes and work on your stuff or ask questions about a specific section, we'll be glad to help try and answer those. I'm not as aware of all the activities that have gone on in Curry County before we got here, but I can try to help you figure out where to put stuff if you have other questions. Okay, oh, so that's something else you could put under activity, attended record book workshops. So be sure that you add that on there. Okay, if you don't have other questions and you don't want to work on your form right now, you can go ahead and get out. And like I said, as you start working on things, if you have questions, you can call the office, you can shoot us an email, and we'll be glad to get you all the help we can, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You don't sound thrilled, Denny. Okay, I am going to stop sharing my screen and double check the chat. I don't see any other questions. Okay, open is done. Okay, so John, you can go ahead and get off. All right, okay. I'm gonna